back to British Esports Student Champs. We are now going to be concluding what has been a very special season so far. We know our 7 finalists, kind of Cypher's going through today, but today is going to be even more special. It's going to be the winner of North. That's going to really lock in the keys to victory and go to LAN. But again, it's been 2 faces that have been walking through the entire season so far. Of course, my name is Connie, and alongside me today is somebody very special to my heart. A man with a face synonymous to British Esports, a voice which carries. It's Whack. Sorry, what production? We don't have Waxon today. Oh, who do we have? Daniel Casts. Ah, Daniel Casts. Really?
Yeah, and obviously I'm Daniel, as Connie mentioned. But yeah, nice try there, mate. Didn't quite get me, but yeah. Today, finding out the winner of this game goes to LAN. Obviously, Connie, we have Belfast Met versus Burnley Bees.
Yeah, fair enough. And what's interesting as well is that Burnley Bees, of course, are twinned with Burnley FC, and they're going to be an interesting look as well, because we actually discussed in the green room particularly about these 2 teams in comparison to South. Well, Counter Cypher sort of ran away with their split, their division. North's a bit more contested. I mean, Belfast Met have been fairly well educated and fairly well versed in Student Champs so far. They've taken it to the real extremities of a series, a map 3 and map 2, but always progressed to the upper echelon, to that final portion of the bracket, where Burnley are fairly new. Again, a lot of investment across the board, and the players of which really have been wise picks so far. I think we're definitely on the cards for a good series today, because neither of these teams have lost yet. And in terms of their placing in victories, I mean, they've dominated up to this point. So this is probably going to be the most contested game so far in the Northern bracket.
Yeah, and in general, to add to that point of their dominance, the only map so far that in spring that either one of these teams have dropped was the last series Burnley Bees played against their opponent of CCSW Sandstorm, but they still ended up winning that series. Yes, they may in that best of 3 not have looked nearly as dominant as their opponent today, having won a 15-30 in overtime and then a 13-8 on map 3, but I suppose that experience might have a potential to talk about later on in the series if we go to a map 3 of how much their experience last week would have earned them compared to Belfast, because they've won every game in a 2-0 fashion.
I think the best way, of course, to conclude that statement and carry into the next is, again, the vetoes. The vetoes are solely responsible for that particular statement. But really, Dan, you've been putting in the work behind the scenes to really understand how Burnley and how Belfast like to pick and choose. And this selection, again, I think warrants a lot of your takes.
Yeah, so Breeze has been Belfast's pick throughout this whole tournament. They've played it in each of the best of 3s and tried to play it nearly as frequently as they possibly can in weeks prior in the best of 1s. And I think where Burnley has a slight edge coming into this, Connie, but purely because they've played 5 out of the 7 total maps in this pool, whereas Belfast, they've played consistently 3 total maps. The last time, though, Burnley played Lotus was in that CCSW Sandstorm best of 3, and they lost the map being map 2 13-8. So they might have adapted themselves within this past month to be able to develop their skills and potentially come back. But then map 3, Connie, is Sunset, of which Burnley has also played and did also win. So in terms of just on paper win-loss ratios, maps of that is at that skill as well, Burnley should have an edge, provided Belfast hasn't done their research, because there hasn't been nearly as much information available in terms of compositions that Burnley use on those maps as much as they've played more.
I feel like, again, when it comes to reflection and your own personal VOD analysis, it's 2 stages, Dan. The first one always is self-reflection on what you would expect a team to do in yourself and when mistakes were. And the other portion of that, again, is just playing for the count, is really understanding your opposition's set play and their natural tendencies. But again, the thing with this sort of level of Valorant is that it's always one or the other. It never really is a combination of those 2 elements in the VOD room. So you'll see teams stick their composition, have full confidence in it, rather or less, on the other side of that, playing direct counters or even a mixture. But this really is where the agent select comes in such a wonderful fashion. And already Belfast are very confident in insta-locking most of their selected agents.
Yeah, Belfast, this is the comp that we've seen them play in and out all of the time. Really consistent. This is their bread and butter for Breeze in particular. And I think if Burnley want to be able to have a shot at coming out of the floodgates, storming their way, Connie, into as many rounds as they possibly can get. Their best shot is to shut down SCT on that jet, previously, on Breeze in particular, they've been so dominant. I have just pulled up here, the last time they played on Breeze, they went 27-12. Purely carrying their team, with Body Shot Ben on the KO being the supportive agent getting 20-12 as well. So those two are definitely going to be the two to watch from the side of Belfast. But in terms of Burnley, I love seeing this Yoru pick. It's something we've been seeing a lot more, especially the higher up into the tiers of competition. So if there's a unique strategy built around it, especially starting on that defense and how much value that agent can get, it's definitely going to be a potential swing factor in this game.
Also, what stands out to me, 2 flashes on Burnley side. Now, when it comes to the takes and the aggressive hits, you know full well what to expect, Dan. And you know the adjustments that Belfast have to make in those heads of despair, heads up play moments, you know. And what really does sort of dive into a deeper meaning is, again, the side select. We are going to be seeing Burnley defending for the first portion with this double flash composition, and really where you do like to have more control, the Cypher Viper pairing is always going to be wonderful for holding down sites and really just spamming utility, keeping Belfast in a tight chokehold. But we kick things off here. Map number 1. Winner of this will go through to LAN finals. Needs a toy win to get there. We start things off though with a very slow take. Belfast just trying to make progression towards B. But we know full well that Bs have the recon info needed. The audio cues will now start to slowly flood the site. And again, that top of the screen will separate information for the most part. As we do really, again, try and seek to understand exactly how Bs like to play this map. Especially given that Belfast, they love Breeze. This is their playground, Dan.
Yeah, 5v5 post plant now, no one dying before the spike goes down, so it's going to be a really hectic retake, and they're trying the side of Bees to just come in across all different areas of the map.
Still though, first one we draw on, SCT takes care of Carnos, but still in a 4v5, players from Burnley really have been weakened by this first wave of gunfights. And now again, positioning plays a huge factor. Toba, hello there, get 4 collectively. And immediately Belfast drawn away from a 5v4 straight into 1v3. A double peak with crosshairs trailed on the site. The defuse will come in, and again the first round will go to Burnley.
Yeah, plenty of time left on that defuse. Great retake from the Bees, really showing their dynamic in that round 1. But Connie, what we saw was the Ori gate crash was sent over toward A, and just the Cypher lurk of Christopher down halls and opening door drew that rotate because there was no noise heard within the first 10 seconds of the round. So it really shows that Bees, as much as they might be playing for retake, that their overall strategy is to just rotate based off sound cues and audio. So if Belfast continues to do those kind of like plays, continue to bait out sounds and draw rotates that way, then it's going to be a great way to start off this first half.
And their purchase from that last round is warranted, especially when you have the weaponry they have. Belfast can't really work to the same level of pace and the same sort of commitment to sites that they would like to have at the start of these games. But it's a different strategy, which again is completely the wrong read, as the first blood will go to Nads, and that Guardian purchase in round 2 is always going to be one of the more classical buys and definitely warranting a first pick.
Yeah, but 2 players really low. Obviously, we mentioned Nads. He is at 10 HP, and his teammate of the Yoru isn't at anything much more than that. So as much as this is a potential for Bees to just, they should, in theory, win this round, damage can be done, and potentially even spiral into further economic damage if found correctly.
MP4 is playing a late lurk here as well. But have they slipped Belfast's net? They have to make sure again that Burnley can regress through mid and clear the angles, but that's a wonderful adjustment. Now only 1 player left on Belfast. It's been a complete calamity. Look at all the X's. Killed in spawn pretty much. No one can break through the pressure point onto A. And it's down to Body Shot Ben just to get the consolation kills, the X if you will. Because with 20 seconds left, although Spike is claimed, Belfast have been closed down, shut down with every single avenue exhausted. And again, we are seeing a bit of a shock here, 2-0 to start things off for Burnley.
Yeah, not quite. Not quite the flawless that that Bees would have wanted to give them even more economy. But Connie, they're now going into their bonus, and yes, this is not necessarily a round that you would expect them to win. But if you look at the buy from Belfast, because they partly invested into that previous round with not Guardians, with a Marshal and other weapons of such, they can't go full shields full Vandals. Instead, some players are forced to be on Bulldogs and half shields and Guardians. So this still is potential for a not a normal 3-0 start of the half.
Again, this purchase from Belfast has warranted a lot more aggression. We're seeing a faster take through tunnel, and even now breaking through the choke point onto A, but it's still the same pattern here. Burnley find that first blood, and only really can the trades be found. SCT, with the perfect route and a clean 2, makes it now a solid 2-person advantage for Belfast. This site take now is converted into a post plant. As we do watch Chonk's POV again, the Ares got a great spray and can definitely isolate a couple kills, but really it's the swings that make Belfast so powerful in this post plant. And because, mathematically speaking, the kills were found, the necessary trades were found, a 2v1 for Nads if that is converted.
Yeah, just gotta fall back, opt to just wait, potential try just to get exits because time is really ticking away, pushing forward, trying to just get rid of some of the rifles. Notes both players now, Connie, and gets a few wrap, but won't unfortunately get the kill. And both players from Belfast managed to win the round, save their rifles, but Connie, there's only 2 rifles kept, and again, looking at the economy, yes, you can still potentially buy into this, but again, it's going down to those half shields, and with Toba having the Outlaw in his hands, then that weapon will shine in those 3 fights against SCT, Body Shot, Ben, and Swizzy.
Especially because of that spike plant and the conversion of that round, we are seeing now the first real glimmers at that ultimate economy cycling through. You know, Nads as well is only one from Hunter's Fury, right? So the set play will be for that orb to be getting that first ultimate available. Belfast as well, and you have 2 players away, 2 orbs respectfully from getting theirs available. But it's a different break off this time around. It's heavy towards B, and again, it's just playing the set timing. Nads has got such a pivotal role here just to get the audio cue across to the team, because we are still seeing Burnley lurking around A, waiting for the same break they've seen for the last 3 rounds, but this again is starting to expand the playbook a little bit more as Belfast do commit relatively light utility onto the site, but just enough really to ring the alarm bells. As Toba draws that first blood, that toxic screen will be called into effect, making it more of a question mark onto the site, and really no information can be given away. This makes it even more clinical that these trades are found. And Burnley really can't get anything. Chris has had a wonderful free to make that round the impact needed. And hello there in the 1v2, but look at how close Belfast have opted to play this post-plan situation. It will be ships in the night for the most part. Cover is the only thing keeping Hello there alive in the situation, and has reserved 2 mollies as well, but this swing could be crucial. Again, Swizzy will be located, but none of the shots connect, and this really creates a tough spot. Belfast needs to keep these players alive, but Burnley have missed opportunity there just to get a clinical 1v2. Positioning was perfect, but the shots weren't there, Daniel.
Again, the safe pair of hands of Swizzy and MP4. We've seen how back-to-back rounds where they've just been so comfortable in those awkward situations. Yes, where they have the numbers, but in a situation where you know your opponent has to get to the spike, they have to get that defuse. So just playing together, holding complementary angles, and then getting trades if a kill comes through. Really good game sense from those 2 players. But Connie, round 5 now, we're coming into 4 ults online in total. You mentioned the Hunter's Fury, and there's a Yoru ultimate combined with that could be used in a potential retake if needed to be able to just find where players are and immediately ult onto the Yoru's body.
And Belfast are committed heavy towards air again this round. It's their 4th time they've committed to this site. Only really said half the success. Difference maker now again. You mentioned it, Hunter's Fury. And it will not be utilized first. It's the knife straight away, which is an interesting ploy, especially given the updraft ability as well. They're playing more for the audio cues, but Chris, again, has been that nuisance in the Thorn of Bees that really impacted last round. 3 consecutive frags. And now it will be no different. That neural have to come online. Positions will be alerted. And Burnley, again, have got 2 ticks to adjust. But during this set play, it was a major distraction. Look at what Belfast are doing. Committing to a 3B site. The trade will go. But still a 4v4 post plan. The only thing non-invested right now again from Burnley is Hunter's Fury and even a dimensional drift, which can still make this round work.
Yeah, but with the orb on Spike, Connie, and Swizzy falling back in toward this B main, one can only assume that they're potentially going to be playing for lineups if it gets too deep into the round. And leaving MP4 alone on site means that all the work is cut out for them. Position now noted, and it's going to be extraordinarily difficult for him to get anything done.
First one comes in, Toba finds the kill, but yeah, still the last two players lurking as a second, which is crucial. Body shot, Ben gets taken down, and all the players playing the lineups are dealt with. This makes it arguably a tight finish, but will it tick over? It won't. It will be a defuse, and Burnley just squeaked through with the round. That right there is another head scratch for Belfast. That's 2 rounds in a row now they've lost due to different circumstances. A missed 1v2 opportunity, and again, the timing of the lineups and the peaks just simply were not to be.
Yeah, the timing unfortunately wasn't the best, and I think, Connie, as well, the main winning factor for Bees there was Christopher's lurk down halls. Yes, you managed to get a kill, but you gave the rifle over, of which then Toba got 2 more kills with, and so if that firepower wasn't there, the sheriff he had would have only hit 145 at the range, not the full 160, and that could have potentially swayed the round. So again, it's timings, of which Toba's now falling in toward Albo, with SCT picking up the first blood, and now numbers advantage once again in favor for Belfast.
And as well, the spread really does benefit Belfast in this. They're going for a 4-1 split. But really, that was a crucial 1v1 to win, especially against Burnley, because now, as you can see, the adjustments are going to be even more spread. And what this means, again, when you're holding a line like this from Burnley's position, it really is just a parallel line across the map, is it makes the defense weaker, and even more opportunity just to stack a site. You're putting a lot of pressure on Kronos, for 1, to get the audio cue, 2, to call the push, and 3, to make sure the team are rotating in time. And again, it's same set utility, but a wonderful dismiss as Kronos there just looks to opt to trade. But again, Chris, a key theme here in this map for Belfast. The lurk's been paying off, and again, just sort of shifting momentum back into Burnley's court. A 4v3 opposed plan again. Had to learn a lesson from last time to peak, so make sure the correct lineups are available, to not over-challenge, make it a disciplined gunfight. That's where Burnley capitalize, and again, it's always a key theme here. Chris finds a way around it, and then body shot Ben converges as well through middle. It creates a wonderful collapse, and Belfast tied up 3-3. Here we are seeing a little bit more signs of life at the correct times from Belfast.
Yeah, Belfast have been playing their post plants so well. They have the Viper going back for lineups, Connie, but then they also always incorporate a mid lurk late into the round to ensure that if players are just solely focused on one area of the map, or then hey, you're getting shot on your back, and then all of a sudden you're now going to lose the round because of it. And there's 4 ults online now for the side of the defense. Yes, the Reyna's Empress is more of a cosmetic type ult, but in 1vx situations it can be really useful. Although one would imagine that the Viper's Pit might be the sole retake piece of utility needed if a hectic situation is found for the Bees.
And this is an aggressive take through elbow from Belfast, but it's a complete adjustment to that from Burnley. They've got 1 player watching over and 1 player stuck in mid. Again, it's about timing the swing, and Toba's just playing for information here. Only has 1 player to go off of, but it's been a complete wonderful play, and it's a good adjustment too, just to get the necessary kills. Mainly blue in the kill feed, and yes, we're now drawing back into the game at a 3v2. But this is tough for Belfast. They've got a reclaim spike and control site. Now we know Chris has got a good look, but Hello there finds the necessary kill, making it 1v3. And again, they've got ultimates to save this round. MP4 has not spent the Hunter's Fury yet thus far, which only really alludes to later in the game where we're going to see that utility come into effect.
Yeah, and unfortunately just getting the wrong 50-50, pushing in now toward the site with 2 players left on, meaning MP4 has their work out for them. 1 over toward yellow, which is hoping what they're trying to get the 1v1 for, will just unfortunately miss the player, and now running out in the open. Hello there gets the final kill for the round. And again, Connie, what we're seeing is just Bees, they're playing positions where they're pushing out, and yes, in situations it works a lot more than it doesn't. So okay, you're fine with situations where you lose numbers advantage because of these type of plays, and I think that's exactly what Belfast are taking this timeout for, because they're realizing, okay, we're getting caught off guard by players pushing out or pushing as a collective. So instead of us having our game plans of, okay, let's slow walk elbow, leave a lurk in toward A, and then re-pressure into mid in the mid round, and maybe then from there make a decision to either end A or end B, they're maybe just talking about in this timeout, Connie, of, okay, we have 3 ults online. One of them is the null command. We know the Cypher's consistently playing B. We know that B is typically their weak site. If we start somewhere on the map, make some presence, potentially draw a rotate or two, and then immediately fling our way all the way over to the B site, use that null command to get an entry, put down all of those trapwires, and then find out where the Cypher is, well, then that's the B site enveloped. And yes, they've lost two consistent retakes or post plants on that B site. They've been more successful on it than on any other time they've tried to pressure into mid or finish on A.
And the golden rule, you said it, it's going to rotate around that null command. This really is where Body Shot Ben is going to have to make the timing and make the call just perfect, picturesque, well-tuned. Burnley have got 5 available and helped use at the start of the round. It's going to be an aggressive hit. Belfast again are playing again off a contact and making sure the screen is viable. But Toba, of course, had the read from the get-go. A wonderful couple of shots lined up. Makes it free for the round. This has been a calamity. No chance for Belfast to get through, and it's going to have to be one of the hardest pinches possible. But Toba has the read. Going to opt to throw out as much as possible, and it doesn't matter. That's 5 in the round. And the null command was completely useless. Nothing could be dealing with Toba in that situation. 14-6, bringing us into what is expected thus far the strongest look so far Burnley have put out.
I mean, I said, Connie, before we came into this map, SCT was the player that you had to shut down on that jet. Typically being the entry player on that duelist role, you're not necessarily expecting to get that many kills on the attack. But being the spearhead, you would expect, hopefully, by this point in the game, more than 6. So they really are shutting down SCT and then really controlling them, forcing them to play in awkward positions or maybe even just readapt their whole play. And Nads is just taking once again another wide swing into mid, gets the Viper, so now that's the smoke's gone for the sight hit.
What makes this even more impressive is that Burnley haven't spent an ult yet. This is pure positional play and knowledge of taking the fights. And they're playing as well from the high ground, which on Breeze, again, depending on the weapon, can be seen as a disadvantage. But they're making it work with Phantoms, with Vandals. This really is some textbook Valorant. And as well on Belfast map pick, you mentioned as well at the start how vetoes were a crucial thing, right? And Belfast's best look was on Breeze. But Burnley have just played it to a point where they're making the fights necessary. They're reading the break off from Belfast. And it's almost like we're in a faux pas. There is no way to look.
Exactly. But, Connie, it's not all doom and gloom yet for Belfast. There's still 3 rounds left in this half. Their economy on this is a make or break round. They have full bought into this. So it hopefully, if you're hoping for the best case scenario now, Belfast fans, it's going to be a 6-6 half, but it has to come from this round. And then if it doesn't, then you're forced onto another eco to fall by last round, which makes it really awkward because you don't want your opponents to get up to 8, maybe even 9 rounds.
And finding that Hunter's Fury is invested. We are seeing a lot more class, especially Burnley. Surprising us from the get-go. 6-3 in this first half. Not their map pick. And only now are they starting to really invest the ultimates. Again, they've saved the conditions to win this round. They've won the last 2 on gunfights alone. And this really is where it turns the tide for Belfast. You love mentioning it, and it is true. This is a make or break. 200 credits apiece. Full buys. The force is going to have to be strong with this one. And the only real condition in which Belfast can operate is on a heavy stack. But the lurking rotation is just too strong to deal with. Burnley, from this get-go, are really riding the confidence of these gunfights. A 3v2, a post plant again. But look at the situations in which they're creating these gunfights. It's a massive collapse on the site. 1 playing long, 2 playing at least a round. And Chris needs to convert a 1v3. Has information, 1 does find a headshot. And the Nova will help as well, isolate the next couple kills. But it's just not gonna be the main condition. As Toba will isolate. It's another spent ult, which now, of course, puts us into a 7-3. And it's gonna likely be one of the more challenging looks in which Belfast have applied to this map.
Yeah, Belfast have instead, Connie, have just opted to force into this with as much as they possibly can. They know that they don't want to let their opponents get to 8. 8, Connie, is the most amount of rounds Belfast have lost on their map pick, of which they lost in their last series. So when you're giving your opponent 8 rounds, it's going to be really difficult unless your whole entire game plan is, okay, it's fine, we bring it back on the defense. Now they've changed up their pace and they're going for a fast mid hit through double door, but Toba's here, the player once again from the side of Bees that has been the star of the show, and they're just flashing through everything and getting all the kills.
Why not? Brute force it. The confidence is flowing. And Belfast have got no response to pretty much every single angle Burnley have exploited in this map. We're now going to be crossing into the final round and a half, and the real condition for me here has been Toba and just the impact of which these kills are being found.
Yeah, the man is 19-6, Connie. I know we don't like to mention scoreboards, so instead, hey, let's bring it back to what we like to talk about, which is the round wins, of which Bees have won 5 consecutive rounds, none of which have been retakes, because all of them have just been they've killed their opponent before the spike's gone down, which is a big issue for Belfast. Yes, this is the last round and a half, so they won't have to deal with the attack anymore. But when this is your map pick and you're confidently coming in, unless Burnley have just extremely anti-strategy, there's a major issue within your team communication.
But the sprays are just beautiful. And oh no, one of the more interesting ways to kill a Yoru drone, but it really was a 50-50 that wasn't meant to be. And Belfast, despite all the calamity on A, have completely repositioned in the wrong spots. Belfast can now just exploit, invest the final bits of utility. They've saved this round, and that nerf as well will put MP4 in a tough spot, completely isolated, all alone. The 1v3 will more than likely have to be a swing for 2 halves. He gets 1, and still it's going to have to be more shooting of the utility. Investing where it be. And Toba here can just coordinate with Dads for a pint, and it's going to be one of the more swifter rounds. 9-3 will take us into the second half, Dan.
Yeah, if you're the side of Belfast, you're either hoping, like I said, that your defense is going to be the better half, or that you're praying on the curse to come into event, because Connie, it's not the best look considering Bees are now going on their attack with the double duelist. Yes, they're lacking a flash initiator, so there might be an issue with their site takes, but if you're just swarming as a 5-man death ball, then of course there's not going to be an issue, because your opponent's going to have to kill every single one of you in a quick succession. But Belfast, not over yet. Hopes for them, and it starts with this pistol, opting for the side of SCT to go for a potential aggressive push into a main to get info, and then the team can make a game plan around that, having both the Viper and the Cypher over toward that B site. Not the best situation, but I guess it's great if you want to just stall and delay.
Well, here we go. Pistol round in the second half. For context as well to add, Burnley won the first 2 rounds, and it was only really in the buy-in bonus round that Belfast started to get a good look. So will we see a copy-paste? I'm not too sure. This is an interesting break-off. As Burnley do have mainly a presence in mid, the biggest condition again is this 1v1 here between Chonk and SCT. This will open up the site directly from the most accessible pressure point for Burnley, but it also will create a very concerning instance where Belfast, we did see them in those pump the brakes, ring the alarm bell situations in these heads-up fights, just not have a time to adjust. And Toba drawing that first blood again on B will again cause a major distraction. Chunk's got the audio kill as well. SCT will get 1, can't find a second. Body Shot Ben will claim control of A and the south side. But now, again, this is how you time the pinch. Body Shot Ben's got to find the audio cues, and again, it's a necessary kill, which Nads can find. Now we see the swift move over towards A.
Yeah, but rotates are already here. MP4 is here once again. Player that has had to do the most for their team, manages to get the first, a little bit of a spam, and immediately falls back, playing for the numbers, hoping that their team rotates come through, but being dinked through the wall puts them at low. Chris now getting another, unfortunately will be found by Toba, and 30 HP now left on MP4 in a 1 versus 2.
And Spike just trickles away. Belfast have got another option here. Rather take the French timeout, I'd say, in these spots. B's now crossed 10 rounds. 10 rounds, which is absolutely insane given the context we were given at the start of this map. Belfast haven't lost this. They've played this continuously, different compositions, and really this is the one that really topples Goliath. Burnley Bees and Toba alone single-handedly managing control on the map, hitting the necessary pinches. This is really where, if you are Burnley, you can start exploiting the stacks, because this round again was where it can kind of at least swing your way. And still only using sheriffs. This is where the purchase next round can come into effect. Maybe the confidence is just that strong, Daniel, that we don't really need necessarily big bad guns, but SCT will find that first blood.
Yeah, punished in toward that A main. Chris getting another onto Toba. That's the star player dead now, so maybe there's more of a chance into this round. But Karnos is here. The Phantom manages to get the first, a little bit of a shaky spray to get the second. And that's the A site now opened up. Spots MP4 over towards CT. And the spike will be able to cross Connie, meaning it should safely be going down. And against only classics and weaker weaponry, there shouldn't be much that Belfast can do, but it's gonna come down to MP4's luck here, all the way down halls, if he can catch anyone off guard.
Burnley's knowledge of game state has given him massive payoffs and really a sole implication as to why we are seeing man advantage swing their way in these rounds. A 3v2. And even a recon just to try and isolate Belfast even more, but when it comes to this break again, MP4 needs to play it silent, needs to watch out again for the necessary kills, but some missed shots are not the correct solution, and definitely a frustrating moment, as we are seeing 2 rounds away from match point, and Belfast really haven't had the best of times in their own pick.
Yeah, not what you want to be seeing. So, Connie, now, Belfast, they need this round. If they lose this round, their opponent of B's go up to 12, and then you're facing 9 consecutive match points. There isn't anything, they're not anywhere close to an ultimate, of which the only one they are is the neural theft. And all that tells you is where players are, of which you need a dead body to do that. So, with Belfast struggling to get these first bloods and have the man advantage, it's not necessarily going to be the greatest bit of option available to them, especially since the Cypher's cornered down on the B side.
Body shot, Ben. We'll get that first on the board. But in the 5v4 again, doesn't really concern Burnley Bees too much. They've been in the situation many times and converted 100% in the rounds. So it really puts a lot of pressure on Belfast just to time it well. And again, this is a great bit of utility and wonderful timing on the placement of those tripwires. It will be man advantage swinging their way at 4v2 as Burnley Bees now completely stuck in the corner of the site. But really, this is waking up set of timing. Naz again, only with Spectre. And only set timing. This is going to be really important information now, which Belfast can capitalize on. That was a wonderful knife. And it's going to be an easy isolation, keeping 4 players alive, really converting themselves into a better position for the next round.
Yeah, they looked good on that round. They got the first blood onto Toba, which meant that the tip of the spear wasn't able to come out from the bees. But and then the bees, they then pushed into the Cypher. But Connie, this is the round that will be testing Belfast more than anything, because the round prior was the bonus. Yes, bees have been showing dominance on those sort of rounds, but they haven't been able to convert them in this series so far, which means that Belfast, they need to be ensuring that they play safe, and this knife is going to get destroyed, so no information gained, but at least 1 player, and the whole stack of bees is here.
Toba again has got a wonderful timing on the flash, and boom, that right there is a crucial kill to body shot Ben. No Vandal for this round, and again, we're playing for economy and rounds if you are on the side of Belfast, and really, the utility spam is what is keeping bees in such a wonderful spot. They're progressing through sight, they're taking necessary power positions and isolating duels to a level in which Belfast really can't deal with the pressure. Composition plays a huge factor. It's always style v style in these matchups, and Breeze really can separate the boys from the men. And this really is where Burnley, in their debut season in British esports, have really taken the biggest question mark to the psyche of Belfast. But really, what made this an interesting look in the second half is we're now starting to slowly see Belfast scale into the round. They're isolating the necessary kills, and above all else, they're making A look so comfortable. And really, when it came to the side picks, maybe this actually could be a story of we had our bad side to start off with, but now we're on the good side. Let's just scale into it accordingly.
Yeah, it was signs of life being shown now from Belfast. SCT opting to buy the Operator, a great piece of, a great weapon on this map, especially when combined with the Jet. And it looks as if they have a great read on what the Bees' game plan is, because Connie, it looked as if they were going to pressure in over toward B or potentially try to end B. So it's gonna be whether or not this operator can get value, and Chonk has already been spotted out by this KO knife now. So it's again just pressure into mid, and let's see what Toba can get done.
Toba now's got to distract, and that really is where the set play is going to be one of the more important ones for Burnley in taking site. Of course, when it comes to game state, they're 2 rounds away from winning the whole damn thing and going to a map 2. So this is always going to put a bit of a scratch in the head of Belfast and make it even more tense. Chonk as well has got great positioning here, has been tagged by the camera, opts to run away. Body shot Ben and Hello there trade out the first set of kills, and now we start to really see sight progress. It was a lurk through a tunnel, but A is really where it makes sense. Swizzy finds the necessary kills, has the call as well that Spike has been dropped, and Burnley Bees have been eliminated on the map in a rather quick fashion. I think that was only a 27-second round there, Daniel.
Yeah, and Connie, I something that I was going to mention if we were getting relatively deep into this map is, as much as this is the same comp that Belfast have ran in previous series, they've changed up who's on what role. Swizzy before was playing the Cypher, and then that meant that Chris was on the Viper. So they've swapped those two, and I think it's really showing why they've done that and how comfortable they are, because in that last round in particular, Swizzy was so comfortable just anchoring down on this ace, like getting those 2 kills, knowing that the main was safe because of players watching it, and the ops now repositioned into a double door trying to get value, but being smoked off isn't going to be the best solution to deal with it. And MP4 just gets the first kill on Toba once again. Rounds where Toba are being first blood, the Bees have just then had to change their game plan entirely and speed it up elsewhere on the map to then fast hit into a particular site. This time round, they've chosen that B site.
I know, and Chris has been super silent as well. Being the first point of contact again makes it an easy trade, but when you're the only player on that site, the 1v1s are necessary. Kronos finds the kill to control, and now we will see Spike drop down. A nice use of the flash, but body shot Ben will have support and enough recon, especially to make it now an even more clearer man advantage. 4v2. Then he hunts through from B's side to exploit the choke points, exploit the lanes of attack in which we will see Belfast aggress. But Nads is up all alone. It's been a really clinical second half and a much better look for Belfast. Nads really has only got limited options and availability. Air Horizons operator gets the final kill, the final nail in the coffin, which makes Belfast even more comfortable in this spot and really bringing themselves into the game.
Yeah, and this is going to spiral not only their economy, but their ultimate economy as well. They have 3 ults online now, as if needed, to be able to use in the spot of a retake. But, Connie, again, we're at another round where this is going to be Bees' another chance for them to potentially try and get to 12. We saw how dominant they were on that attack, getting 6 consecutive rounds in a row toward that end of the half, and so they need to start to try replicating it. Of which there probably needs to be a discussion of Toba, because yes, we know how wow he is for the team, but when he's being picked off first blood after first blood after first blood, it's not going to help you, and you're ending up losing the round more often than not.
Toba as well, to mention, is currently 1-6 in the second half. So, from the standpoint of frags, definitely a win condition, which Belfast have identified and exploited. And it won't be any different here, as we are seeing, though, the gunfights trade out more even this time around. And we are going to be seeing at least more aggression, but the real impact here, Chris and the Lurk, taking over Toba's role for the side of Belfast and definitely adding more value where it need be. Burnley Bees have only got a pit to deal with, but that player eliminated as well, Chonk in a 1v3, and it's just really been a tough spot to aggress. This operator, this new strategy which Belfast have waited a whole half to employ, is now really starting to shine through, Daniel.
Yeah, and with the spike caught out in the open and a player holding on to it, Connie, Chonk is just encased fully. Yes, it's 3 HP on body shot Ben, but the corner's not going to be cleared, and the op does fall, but the economy is strong enough for it to be rebought, so no real damage, and you don't necessarily mind giving orbs to a Cypher because the neural theft, it's a very situational ultimate. So again, it's just Bees that we saw how dominant they've been. They haven't managed to quite find that same dominance on their attack. So they're going to try and change their strategy up. Having Hello there buying a hero, no, was toying with buying a hero rifle. Instead, just a full eco sheriff's great gun to deal damage at close range, but you're pushing into Cypher trips unless Chris gets caught here.
And Chris as well is going to have a massive info read and a necessary trade to at least make it an even playing field, but SCT is now going to get out of harm's way. Sacrificing a bit of control and man advantage will remain in favor because, again, when you're buying operators each round, you can't have the same aggression you would with a Vandal or a Phantom, but you will find the necessary trades where it need be and really catch Burnley by surprise. And that's been a key theme thus far in the second half. And one thing which we have noticed particularly changing their game plan is just we're seeing more passive approach, and we are seeing a lot more happiness and confidence shine through Belfast in the spots. And when it comes to pairing the utility, it has been a much better look. The defense might just be the better option for both these teams, but Belfast have been in this spot numerous times. Their reps do not lie, Daniel.
Yeah, Belfast. This is why this is Belfast's map pick. Even when they're faced with adversity, Connie, of being 9-3 down, they've managed to only let the side of the Bees get the pistol and the force. So there's only 2 rounds Bees have gotten, and that's again now Belfast 6 in a row as well. Again, it's coming down to SCT with that operator. It's coming down to these minute plays that are being done that will just flip around entirely if it's Chris on a lurk or if it's players playing together and forcing out trades.
Nice. Aggressive set take here. Target's room will go up in as well. The trip wire will tag a couple players. This where is Chris must have an impact. Spots 3 out, but it will just about converge. It will be a nice 2 to collect the frags. Acquired a man advantage. But again, side control will favor Belfast. Only by a small margin. Burnley, despite being on site, haven't got positioning, right? And that's where we will now start to see Belfast cross double digits on the scoreboard. And now truly close a deficit here, Daniel. Gone from a 9-round gap just to 1.
Yeah, the past 3 rounds, Connie, they won the side of Belfast. They've won by using an All Command. They've won by using a Hunter's Fury. And that round in particular, they didn't use any ults to be able to win that round. Sorry, my bad. They used the Jet Knives to allow SCT to play aggressive. So that's 3 ults now used back to back to back. But you don't necessarily mind if you're the side of Belfast because you've closed, like you say, that gap to 1. And now the side of Bees, they're taking their time out. And Connie, what's the biggest issue that we're seeing here from Bees? Because they look like an entirely different team. It's night and day between the two.
Great question. And the answer to that is going to be the pacing change from that half. I mean, we saw Toba instantly find comfort and find the necessary positions to, you know, even get the ace on the board in the first half, which we did see, right? But you also have to point positioning as well to the remaining players and just where the speed and tempo lies. I think it would just be a hard swap of pacing and a hard swap of taking the sites, because we do have set roles in Valorant. The necessary players entering first, the necessary players throwing utility first. Where Bees really can exploit it is count down the clock, make it more of an unsettling round for Belfast, and then punch a hole through onto a site.
Exactly that, and I think that's what Bees might have probably been talking about. They know how strong of a team they have been, but they've just kind of missed, Connie, in this second half. It's as if they've flipped a switch in their brain and all of a sudden they've forgotten how to win rounds, because it's not the same Bees that we saw. And if you're on the team of Burnley Bees here as well, you're not going to be happy with this performance neither. Yes, you even if you win the map, you gave your opponents so many rounds and so much confidence. So again, they're now forcing into this round, and if they lose this, that not only is their opponent on 11, but their economy is shattered again, and then it's looking at Belfast potentially winning this map.
Where Toba found success again was on the flashes, but SCT has been the main problem. Really has been an exploit of the operator and has found the correct position for the operator as well. So once this condition has become available for Belfast, it's been pretty clear cut. You know, they like to play long range fights. They like to make the angles awkward for Belfast. Burnley, no response. No response. And taking the standard fights with weaponry which doesn't warrant it. As the first one goes through the 5v4. And the neural theft as well will be utilized early on. And it's going to be just a really interesting scope now for Belfast and just how they're swinging it. Because that timeout has only benefited them. And now we are starting to see progress in the middle of the map, but the necessary kill again has been found. Chris and SET pairing up wonderfully just to take it to the extreme heights they have. But Belfast again, another 4v2, another site take. Hello there has a pit to use, but if you know the strategy from the set play, there's no point in spending it now in this 10-10 spot. But the right kill has been found. MP4 and SET pairing up with 3 in a round for SET, taking it to 11-11, Daniel.
Yeah, it's really not what you want to be seeing. But Belfast, they have been showing why this is their map pick, Connie. They have been nearly as dominant, if not more, than Bees were on their defense. Because, like I say, the only 2 rounds that Bees have won on their attack were the first 2. So Belfast, they're really prominent on this, on Breeze. We're seeing why we're being treated to a great game. And it's going to be a difficult call for who wins this, because again, Connie, the economy, it's in a position where it's make or break for the side of Bees. But hey, if Belfast lose, it's fine. They play for OT. They have all of the economy that they need. And Bees have 3 ults online, which we want to be seeing used, because this is potentially the last chance that they can.
But look at the mid population here. This is a new break off, which I think actually benefits Burnley in a sense. It's because every single choke point which Belfast are committed to has been exhausted. So now they've got to adjust twice, at least twice, to find the players necessary to even up the scoreboard. And again, utilizing flashes here is a great call. MP4 will have a read on the pressure, especially in their own spawn, but it's down to discipline now to find the necessary trades and keep players alive, which, mathematically speaking, Burnley have exercised this round. It'll be a 4v3 and a neural effect as well. Again, this is a much better look, and again, it's just spending a much slower ultimate economy. It hasn't cycled as fast as that first half. Now we're seeing the ultimate necessary just to take a sword to the throat of Belfast. And really, would you want it any more in an 11-12 potentially? This is a tough 1v1 to win. ST just about squeaks away with it. But if you're Belfast, you're playing again against a post plant. And a 1v2 against an operator. Now, discipline is going to be a huge factor here. SCT has pulled out a Vandal just for this retake. And this is where it becomes interesting as well. Hello there has a lineup. We'll get it to at least half. Has to seek out the player, but it's just going to be a wonderful trade. Chonk, free for the round. A much needed and crucial round win for Burnley.
Point.
Yeah, that round was won solely off just a manic play from Burnley. They pressured 4 different areas of the map in that round. They pressured over toward A main initially with 1 player lurking. Then they had a stack in toward mid, a pressure then in toward B tunnel. And then once they realized, okay, there's 2 players here, we don't want to hit this site, they then re-pressured in towards CT and pushed all the way deep onto MP4. Unfortunately, didn't win that duel, but then that meant that they sped up in toward double door and took the A site.
Match point for Burnley Bees. Then we'll go straight into that second map, that Lotus we've been waiting for all week. But SET again, crucial, the operator gets the first blood drawn. And now it's a much slower read of the game and a different pacing. One of which Belfast has exploited. When we see Burnley slow down, they have an easier time reading the fights. They've got the long range duels won for the most part. But the sheer change and adjustment, which has really benefited Burnley, always was going to be, again, that manic blind counter. We're not seeing it this round. We're just seeing Belfast scale into what is, you know, a standard round for them. All reliable. The usual, please, sir. Kronos again has a good read, but no number support to pressure the gunfights in the correct manner. Swizzy can just isolate, get it down now to 1v4. And when Nads has this red, again, is only by the smallest of margins. No chance for a flash, no chance for a swing. Body shot Ben gets around converted, and we're going to OT.
Yeah, going to OT. This great play for the first game, Connie. I wouldn't expect it to go any other. And SCT has woken up. They picked up that operator on their defense, and they've spiraled the round into their control, the game into their control even. I mentioned that was the player that you had to shut down from the side of Belfast, and Bees did exactly that on their defense. So it's going to be, again, shutting down these star players, Toba and SCT, because if you don't, well, then we saw what the dominance was, right?
And dominance again was a win condition. SCT, an operator, slowing down the pace, spamming utility correct, not throwing all of it, just half of it, but it's enough to put Burnley in a bit of a blender. And this is a nice sort of spot again. We see Burnley on defense again to kick things off in overtime. Now, when you look at the first half score, 11-2, 10-2, 9-3. That was quite a gap which Belfast made up to reach this point. But you gotta be feeling the warmth here from Belfast. You gotta be feeling the confidence, especially given now we are gonna be in different territory here. But Kronos finds the necessary 2. SCT again will be there for support, but Swizzy is the one actually finds the kills. A 3v3 pros plan. Toba now actually is gonna be back on that lurk, back in comfortable territory here. But in the post plan situation, Nads needs discipline, has to avoid the fights and make sure that no damage is taken. And this is where SCT comes into effect here. A wonderful kill in mid. Low in HP, has to run out of harm's way. And both agents here again haven't got nades or molotovs. It's got to be sheer aggression. And a wonderful read of pressure. As this wrap is so good from SCT. Now if you're Nads, you got to stick this time. You have to find a kill, and you do just about squeeze it out in time. And Burnley back in the lead. 1 round away. But we are going to be flipping the halves around.
Yeah, that was the closest attack side that we've seen from the side of Belfast, Matt. And it was in overtime. They made a major change to their game plan. They 3-man pushed down halls, opened the door, and immediately A-split out of it with 1 player in toward main, which meant that they had entire control of that A site. Yes, it was really close in toward the end, but Connie, it looks as if Bees are potentially just going to try and do something similar. Maybe they're not going to go all the way down in toward halls, but instead they're just going to 4-man death ball in toward main, and there's only 2 players from the side of Belfast over toward this A site with 1 in toward halls. So at most it's going to be a 4v3, and those numbers favour Burnley Bees.
I know, a 4-1 split as well, but really this is the interesting point. There's 4 stack onto site for Burnley Bees. And what makes it even more interesting again is that we are seeing Belfast just exploit the correct positions of the players. But even no real call the operator here. You saw their stack, they're 2 on B, and the rotation is just as quick to make it as efficient. A 3v5 now for Burnley. Hello there's got a wonderful position and utility to spare as well, just to isolate the lanes. But really, you want to call it if the numbers are there. And now the operator's there, you've got to respect it. It has to be a swing. Body shot Ben converts the final kill of that round. What made it special? Belfast swung all their remaining players through mid, through the yellow container, rather than supporting the operator because they know just how much pressure the SCT has and the impact that he has, particularly on this side.
Exactly that, and it's great to see. It's amazing that Bees are realizing that that's the main play. As much as we've now been forced in toward this A site where we've planted, we now know that the op CT, we don't want to peek it, just play the macro, try your best to avoid it. But Connie, we're going again into another round of overtime. It's going to come down to this game, which team can win the attacking round, because neither team has been able to convert it as of current. It's always been retakes, it's always been the defense, and again they're trying to replicate the strat from the side of Burnley, from the side of Belfast, but Toba with the operator just takes down 2 and shuts the halls push down.
Yeah, Toba, first I'm putting an operator in this game, and definitely not too shy to use it, right? That was clinical to make it a 5v2. And now we are seeing a stark contrast in Belfast. This was a nice use of the playbook. This right here is your up-the-sleeve strat, particularly in this portion of the tournament. You know, the qualification match for LAN finals, where if we are going to utilize a very strong playbook and really expand it deep, now's the time to use it. But Belfast are very much here, scratching their heads. Toba operator was not a common theme for them. And it will be a flawless round if it keeps going at this rate. Neural Pep invested, but really, is it going to do any effect? No. Carlos closes out the round, all players are alive, and 14-13. Now we swing to your point, the attacking round again. Burnley, in a new look, have found the correct adjustment.
Yeah, this is they looked really confident on that on that round in particular, and yes, it came from them thinking, okay, well, if they push down halls in the first round of OT, what if they do it again? Let's get an op, let's position it on that position, and then just kill them if they're there, which is exactly what happened. And now, Connie, again, it looks as if it's going to try and be a fake presence over toward A. The side of Burnley, they know that last time they 4-man pushed in toward A, so if the same amount of pressure and neutral gets used, well, then it's potentially going to draw all the rotates and the B site's going to be free, of which it is, because Chris has just pushed out, saw 2 players, but there is still the jet of SCT there with the operator. It's going to come down to how quick these rotates can come through and how much SCT can get done.
saved some Leers as well. Although this will go down and the operator is completely taken out. This is the first time now we've seen Belfast without their star player. And in a 5v2 as well. It's just going to be a clean line and some devastating crossfires. That right there is the upset of the day, for sure. Burnley, a 15-13 overtime. Map 1, taking Belfast pick right out of their mouth.
Exactly that. We were expecting Belfast to come into this to be so dominant. All of the data that we had pointed towards that. And as much as that was true for the defense, Burnley, they realized, okay, it's fine. We are a strong defense team. If we pick defense, we start on the defense, we get the lead, we boom Belfast's mental, and then eventually, when it comes to it, and the half swap, the exact same thing happens back. So again, a great overtime first game. Like you mentioned, it was Belfast's pick. And so going into Lotus now, Belfast are going to have a team talk of, okay, what went wrong? Why did it go wrong? What can we change quickly enough? Because, Connie, Belfast haven't played Lotus in the whole of champs.
And what's interesting as well is that Burnley have played at least 5 out of the 7. You know, they've spent all of champs expanding their map pool to a portion, and the confidence now after that map, despite it being not the easiest game and definitely one they've only just squeaked away with, they're going to be, you know, relaxed, I'd say, to a portion. They're going to have pretty much no concerns, or at least no concerns that they had on Breeze against Belfast. If the review's done correctly and the homework has been done, the coach is going to be sat there pretty much, you know, setting the default, setting out the regular plays, rather than delving deep, which we did see at the end. The condition, again, which I think stuck out to me, was Tober on the operator, because we saw SCT pretty much have the most impact on that second half. And only then did we actually, Tober, kind of throw down the gauntlet and just bring it out at the correct time. The necessary 2 kills, which spurred in the 5v2 to make it 14-13. And then we can really reach into that last round. Again, SCT missed all the necessary shots to hold off B. And they held such great discipline, Burnley, just to get the spike down, not to overpeak, because there were plenty of times where they were over-challenging and just making the wrong decision.
Exactly that, and I think that was the big crux of the map. You know, it was, especially when it got to the overtime, who's going to win the attack? Because we've seen how dominant both these teams were on the defense, and Breeze is a map you don't necessarily expect it to be defense-sided purely because of all the different avenues that you have to watch as a defender. So for the narrative to be flipped and both teams to be so strong with that side, it really was going to come down to the attack. Burnley close it out 15-13. Map 2 of Lotus, like I mentioned, will be coming up very soon, Connie.
And interesting as well, just to see if Burnley retained their double flash composition for this map, because the one thing about Lotus, which has been chopped and changed from the start, is we did see double controllers quite frequently. I think that was actually the first pairing where we saw Harbor and Viper, especially when Pearl got taken out and Lotus started to really progress as a regular pick for lots of teams across all tiers of Valorant. Whereas now the more necessary combination that we do see in British esports again is just really putting a spotlight on the duelist and really picking at least 2 or 3 at times, you know. And the same for the initiators as well. It's those players that sort of step the first foot on the site that really have the most impact, because one thing that makes Lotus so different from the rest of the pool is those 3 sites.
Yeah, and we like we've been alluding to it, Connie, but we will be going to Lotus just after a short break, so we'll see you after this.
Hello everyone, welcome back to British Esports. We're going into map 2, we're going to Lotus, but you know, it's one thing hasn't changed throughout our time in British Esports, and that's mine and Daniel's love for each other. You know, just on that casting pair level. I can happily talk about, you know, how wonderful he is, what a wonderful caster he is, the knowledge he brings to the game, what the fact that we asked for Waxon at the start. But don't worry, it's okay, it's okay. We're going to get into this one and really enjoy it, aren't we, Daniel?
Yeah, we definitely are. And like we mentioned before the break, we're going to Lotus. It's a map that Burnley have played on before. This is that map pick. But the last time, Connie, that Burnley played on this map, they lost 13-8 to their previous opponent. Yes, it's as if they started the series off the same way they did last time. They won map 1 15-13 in overtime. And then in map 2, they unfortunately fell to it. So if the same narrative is being sown as well as what we've seen today, it's not going to be a great look for Burnley, but the unknown of Belfast, they've never played on this map, so potentially they pull something out of the hat and then take it to a map 3.
No, that's a really one for take, and what makes it more expansive as well, just to really touch on the point that we haven't really seen Belfast touch this map, is their composition is going to be completely stuck together. You know, we're not really going to see the scrim time or the set play or even the knowing of what works for them, whereas Burnley do have footage in themselves just to reflect and make sure again that they are in control of the series. Because the biggest thing, especially given that we did see in overtime on the breeze and we are seeing Burnley just about squeak away with Belfast pick, is that they were out of control for a large portion of that in the second half. There was nothing really going for them, Dan.
Yeah, but they have the depth, Connie. They've gone to map 3s before, so they know, okay, it's fine. Yes, map 1 was really close for us, but it's absolutely fine because we have our map pick coming up next. Just stay focused, stay locked in for what our game plan is going to be. And then it doesn't matter what our opponent's doing, because so long as we're just reading what they're doing and how to play around it, well then if we win the rounds, who cares? Because we're going to eventually end up winning the series. But enough about that, because Connie, we're seeing picks floated here of a vast majority of agents. We see a lot in student champs the Reyna get picked, especially week in, week out, a lot of times. I would even say more times than I would want it to be picked, but that's because I'm a Reyna hater. I know a load of people that do enjoy the agent.
Facts.
I just don't think that she has that much of a space in comp. But enough about me. Take us through the picks.
What makes it interesting as well is that we have pretty much seen from the get-go exactly what Belfast want, and I actually am really attracted to the composition and the picks they've gone for. I think this actually does warrant lots of the tier 1 sort of level of play, and it definitely is a great homage to, let's say, Team Liquid. I say last year. I actually saw identical picks from Team Liquid last year, and it was against Carmine Core, or the Carmine Core last year. I mean, damn me, you know. Yeah, that is not to be discussed on camera without fear of you know, Carmine Core going after us. But it basically has the same pacing and style, which warranted that wonderful second half that we did see out of Belfast in the end. The difference again is that we are seeing Chris on Raze this time actually hopping off of the Sentinel role and taking more of a faster approach.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the side of Belfast, they're using what was pioneered by Fnatic. This was their comp that they used on Lotus in particular, because they didn't necessarily want to utilize the Sky, and when Sky was so strong on the map, they were trying to play ahead of the bell curve, and so it's gonna be, again, a really dominant side potentially, because it's on paper the better comp for the map, but what they lack in terms of explosivity and in terms of whole main damage, well, Burnley FC, they make up for it because they have the double duelist. And yeah, we've seen week in, week out, Connie, of, okay, with the double duelist comp, you can either play really aggressive in 2 different avenues on this map, which looks like what they're going to try and do, potentially pressure into B main if nothing's there, open the door and do a C crunch, or just have the Reyna go on a luck play, because it's fine, because your duelist of Raze is just going to be there to do all the brunt of the damage, and then Reyna's there to pick up the scraps.
Here we go. Map 2 kicking off underway. Burnley Bees are only one away from sending themselves tickets to the LAN finals this summer, whereas Belfast have got to scale their way back in. So that gives them map 3 if they want to have a good look. And already shots are going away onto C, and already damage has been dealt quite heavily to Belfast in what seemed to be a very aggressive hit out. That is where we see the equipment from Burnley now to try and isolate some kills, flush the rats out the tunnel, whereas Belfast, major adjustment and definitely Great read of the pressure. Is already through door onto A. It's just all one player alone. So down to Nads again, just to keep the fences, reinforce the troops, as we will see Belfast already commit spike early, get a first blood drawn, make it super uncomfortable for Burnley in the kickoff. This is a great response given their last map and the woes in that overtime, as trades will at least equalize things into a 3v3. This is where Belfast again make sure again they can operate on a wonderful pacing and a good level. This is where Burnley now actually had no positioning advantage and just an easy isolation. Hello there, making sure troops are rallied, a swing is there, and now we are going to be seeing a bit of an interesting tie. A 1v2, nice kill found. But again, 10 HP, easy enough for a tap on the SCT, and that now converts the first round going Belfast's way.
Yeah, first pistol Belfast have picked up in this series. They lost out on both and on their map pick. So if it's to show what is to come, Connie, of the same dominance that happened when Bees won their first pistol, well, then it's gonna be great, an immense show that we are going to be witnessing. But they're forcing up, they're buying into those Bulldogs, into those Guardians, some of them being able to buy full shields for both. Absolutely great. You don't want to be going half shields against those pistols, especially when two from the side of Burnley have bought the Sheriffs, because that 145 is a difference of dying and living on 5 HP.
Just to zoom out as well from the game a little bit, we have to really commend and respect what Burnley have done with this roster, and arguably their debut season against Belfast, a mainstay, a team hunting for that replay in last year's grand final against Colonel Cyphers. They really have made a wonderful injection so far into British esports and brought some wonderful game to watch. This has been really an interesting sort of state of play, and what makes it even more special is just what they work with. Again, we see teams like Wolves Esports scale to the levels they have. Fenerbahce Esports as well over in Turkey. Burnley FC are looking to replicate that as well on the student level. And so far, again, despite having a slower start into this map, have really played the coin well and even taken a map of Belfast, which in itself, when you're walking away from it, is still a very, very good achievement.
Exactly that. And Connie, this round is most probably over and done with. Exactly that. Flawless in round 2 for Belfast. So again, getting a little bit more of those credits. As much as they're not going to be buying into this round, for the round afterward, it's going to support them so well just to be able to keep their economy going. And then but this is the round that's going to be tested, because Bees, round 3, it's where they buy unless you opt to force in, which some teams like BBL love to do that purely because it plays for a more aggressive playstyle. But instead, buying in now, absolutely fine, normally what we see. But again, the conversation of those half shields, yes, you're getting all of your utility, but when you're going against a Bulldog and a Guardian, half shields is a really strange concept, because it's the difference between winning on very low HP and dying. And again, first blood found at 1-for-1 trade, and players of the side of Belfast, they're just holding in spawn, waiting to see if any aggression comes through, while Swizzy tries to go for a back play in toward A. They know the Killjoy from the side of B's is playing here, and has played here in the past 2 rounds, and so it's again just going to be this late pivot in toward A and hope that they can win in a post plan.
And Burnley here are just respecting the geography of the map, of course, and overcommitting just yet to make the first fight, because they understand just how easy the take would be. The smoke's well placed there just to slip in that a little bit and make it at least a viable pinch play, but the sprays will only really converge it back into a 3v3. A crucial 1v1 there to win if you're hello there, and a wonderful stun as well, just to make it even more of an anticipating fight when we do see that tree door open. But really, Swizzy has found the impact here. 2 more to add to the list, and now 1v2. If hello there can find the necessary kills and make it that bit more challenging, it really is going to open up the site a little bit more. But that's Spectre against 2 Guardians, not the ideal spot to be in.
Yeah, and both players stacked in over toward heaven, so they planted for it, Connie. And yes, now 1 position has been noted, but Hello there has their work cut out for them. Gonna have to win a 1 versus 2. Gets the flash, spots the first player, doesn't manage to pick up the kill, and SCT with the swing out, with the trade, swapping from the role of the jet player or to the role of the info initiator, something that we haven't seen before for them in any of the series that they've played, because they've just been, more often than not, that duelist, that pioneering role. But instead now they've, like you mentioned, they've given it to Chris, and it's going to have its merits, because SCT, Connie, is 1 away from that Nightfall and is currently 5-0 in 3 rounds.
crazy to see Belfast already cycling for ultimates after 3 rounds. And we do see that rarely often, particularly even with Fade on this map, but really Chris has been a wonderful player, particularly of the agent pool that is so deep. And what makes it even special as well, 2 different agents across 2 maps, but 2 very different looks thus far. And maybe you could even draw a little bit to Burnley and really not having comfort on Lotus, and maybe even there and again, just having the same sort of shared pool as Belfast to a degree. Because we are seeing a 4v3 being tied in, and a recommitment to a brand new site from Belfast this early on. Only Naz confronting the turret onto B. Again, the smoke to counter it from Belfast will make it even more of an easier take, because now we're blocking off those angles, those lanes of access, which makes it interesting. But one condition that hasn't changed is just how good Toba is. Picks for Vandal as well, just to reinforce that site. But what makes it even more special is, again, the 4v3 now down to a 3v1. And this is where Belfast really have got to make it work, only by the smallest of margins. Hell, there finds to kill their first rounders on the board in this map.
That was disgusting. I was gasped for words from the side of Toba. Like you mentioned, we saw how strong he is on that duelist role in the first map, but for him to have a sheriff in such close proximity, get 3 kills, have the spike, completely flip the round for his team. Yes, it puts their first on the board, but it's not going to be nearly as replicable as what Bees are probably hoping for. But in Connie, instead, they might just be hoping that they just win this next round, and then that's their economy starting to bolster up and get built. Toba now manages to cross over, doesn't get spotted by the horn, and it's just going to be a bait from Chonk if players push through this one way to be able to set Toba up to do exactly what he did in the last round.
Interesting as well. This one smoke has completely stalled the initial push here for Belfast, and that's where again they start to utilize that breach and really make it that speed there, essence of which their game plan was built. As Chris draws up first blood, but a counter investment. Toba there will return fire, drawing it into a 3v3. Wonderful patience and great discipline just to hold the line, knowing that your teammate died. You have got 3 players in your sights, and the counter showstoppers make it available. But look at the adjustment. That time from that kill, now to which Burnley have repositioned and got numbers to that site. Only will SET's next kill make it that 3v2. Whittle away the defenses of Burnley Bees, and a complete shift on a brand new site.
And it's perfect. They know that by the time they got those kills in towards C, that there was still plenty of time left on the clock. So now instead, they've just cut noise, waiting for a push to come out.
Left.
Now they have the numbers advantage once more. Yes, 2 of the players from the side of Belfast are below 50 HP. So Hello there should have easy picking, but unfortunately, it looked like a little bit of a sleep at the wheel. And SCT managed to pick up the kill. Now the site of where the spike is going down is noted, but all the work is cut out for the killjoy of Burnley Bees, and it's going to be extremely difficult for Nads to try get this retake win.
Nads will spot 1, no shots connect. Chris, 30 HP, 3 kills that round. And Belfast have scaled wonderfully thus far. Made it 4-1, different look from last map. Definitely a blink and you'll miss it. Definitely let's put that in a rearview mirror moment for the Belfast Metropolitan boys. It's been a great look, and still the biggest change again. New player, new role. SCT now having freedom on that initiator.
Yeah, I suppose the biggest positive from that round, if you're the side of the Bees though, Connie, is that this Belfast, they used 2 ults. They used the Showstopper, they used the Nightfall. Yes, you traded Showstopper for Showstopper, but it's not that big of a deal because you're now starting to build your own ult economy. The only downside to that argument is that Belfast themselves, Bodyshot Ben in particular, is 1 orb away from that lockdown, and so if that is going to be the strategy that you're going for, then it's going to be a tough play into these next few rounds.
Still, we respect Belfast's commitment towards C. Again, the biggest impact again was just 2 showstoppers, making it more of an easier time to get the frags that Burnley needed. But Toba has really found lots of comfort. Nosy adjustments makes it 3 thus far, and really scaled wonderfully back into the game. But we are still seeing Belfast not really be too affected physically. I mean, look, still holding unnecessary sites. Understand again that this now has become more of an unwinnable round, knowing that Burnley have got control of the spike.
Connie, look at the lurk in over toward A. The timing was perfect. Yes, the spike is down, and so it's going to be MP4 to do the most, but Body Shot Ben's picked up the kill on Nads. It's probably going to be too late for anything to happen, as now Toba is one away from the ace again, first in map 1, second in this series, in this map potentially. But if Belfast are wanting to win, which they're not, they're opting to save the rifle, do the right play, not get found. But Body Shot Ben is going to have to stop any pushes, of which it looks as if Chonk is going walkabouts and trying to locate where Body Shot Ben is. Pings on the map, noting that they could be in towards CT, and swinging the corner. It's going to come down to this duel of who rifle.
Well, Ben's the answer to that question. And also, as well, we'll have the lockdown carried into the next round. But a very convincing round from the get-go for Burnley Bees, and Toba's free piece was the catalyst of which.
Yeah, again, we're just seeing Toba, the dominant player. I definitely think that that's the word of this series, Connie, because we've been seeing star player after star player. Toba on map 1 and now coming into map 2. It's SCT, the man on your screen, again in map 1 and map 2. It's really just these duelist players that might not necessarily be confined to that role, that are the players that are going to be spearheading each combat, that are going to be setting the team up and converting those first bloods, maybe even those disadvantaged numbers. And again, Connie, we're seeing just a hit over toward this A site. 4 players stacked up. The spike is going to be on one of them. But the adaptation from the side of Burnley is they now have Chonk over here as well. It's not just the solo killjoy of Nads.
When we're looking at the head-to-head for Toba versus SCT, Toba is more of a flashy rifler, I'd say. Especially given the weapon selection. Yes, it's a bit deeper than SCT, but SCT on the operator, paired with a fast duelist, has really caused most problems for Burnley. And definitely, you know, highlighted the win condition for them. You know, and these teams are so evenly matched as well in terms of the Sentinel players, controllers, knowing when the utility needs to go out, knowing when to time these Molotovs. It makes it even more challenging. But what makes it even more of an interesting look is that we are drawing back towards a 3v3, but full site control for Belfast. And really, well worked. All 4 players rushed onto site. There wasn't really much that could be done for Burnley Bees in that spot. And Hello There, who has been lurking on C the entire time, will now have to face the 1v4. And given the re-clears, I think Burnley know exactly where to look.
Exactly, that Body Shot Ben's going to be first contact. In fact, is also just going to get the final kill of the round. So, exactly what you want from Belfast. Yes, it was... there was one player that fell, so not a flawless, but it's just the confidence. It's the playing as a team, playing as a whole, instead of, unfortunately, because of this being a 3-site map, being that being the gimmick. The side of B's, Connie, it feels as if they're playing as partitions, because you can't particularly do much when you're having to spread across 3 different sites. But now the conditioning has happened and the change in the game plans come through from them, because there's 3 players over toward this A site, of which it's both duelists and the Omen. All of the util has been used, and Belfast have decided to just call, okay, that's fine, we know there's 3 here, they've changed their game plan, let's run over toward the C site, we have the lockdown if we need. And here's the KJ Nads needing to do the most for his team to slow this push.
Still, though, dodging over the Molotovs. Naz knows again that this is going to be a harder take. That's why support comes in. And who would you want more than Toba? Nobody else. Showstopper available. Will collect a couple more kills. And it's wonderful. It's just beautiful team play. That's what Toba needed to do in that spot. And really, wow, what a wonderful collection of kills. A wonderful adjustment overall. And Burnley still behind, but definitely showing a lot more confidence now.
Yeah, exactly that. The raise of Toba, though, Connie, started over toward that A site, and then as soon as they realized, okay, there's pressure in towards C, or there's shots over towards C, because unfortunately, Body Shot Ben shot 1 bullet, which alerted to the KJ of Nads that, okay, the hit's coming over toward this site after all this util. They then fast rotated and got there to support Nads, which meant that exactly what happened is what we saw. And that's a great game sense. It's great playing as a team. And it's what we need to be seeing from the side of Bees on their map pick, because they're here to prove a point. They want to close this series out in a 2-0 fashion. It's the first map loss that Belfast have had since all the way back in week 1 in winter, Connie. They haven't lost a single series. And so it's gonna be the confidence booming for B, is noting elbows repositioned now coming through, and there's gonna be a fight in toward rubble with Chonk being the one to take the contact.
Chonk knows now this is the most important position, but given a counter pour in our own smoke, has to be timed well because it's so easy to re-clear if you're Belfast. And again, this is where it really does sort of tip the pendulum just ever so slightly in their way. Toba now is being spammed with utility and only now just about evading the remaining troops, but still finding wonderful kills. It's so rare that you see players come out the woodwork in the fashion Toba has in this series, but still, it's only gonna be collected again by Kronos free for that round, and it really was those two players pairing up well, and really a mistimed push from Belfast. What ties it in so gorgeous is that Toba is the centerpiece, the cornerstone of this team, of a wonderful crowning jewel that really has been Burnley Bees thus far in this particular matchup. They really want to go to land, Daniel.
Cody, he's 17-6. No one else on his team is positive. He is doing all of the heavy lifting, and it's absolutely fine because it's just frag movie after frag movie, round after round. 4 ults available now from the side of Belfast. Yes, they've lost a few rounds consecutively now, so they're potentially trying to, hoping to commit one, but with them having the weaker weaponry, they're going in toward this C site, and Bodyshot Ben finding first blood. It's gonna be a question of what gets used and when, because they know the Killjoy is on this site, and so you'd imagine the Showstopper gets used to try find and force them back.
Hesitation from Belfast despite Swizzy's wonderful 2 kills. They are respecting the call, and just of which is that win condition eliminated. Yep, Toba is no longer in the picture. That right there is definitely defining their play at the moment. It's a lot of, hesitation, lots of voices being utilized in the comms, but no significant leader just yet. That one voice, that one player, which arguably we could say is Chris right now, has to lead the line, make the play call. Because we are in a portion now where Belfast have got wonderful control of the ultimate economy, swinging at the correct times, taking the fights at necessary risk. But it really has just been a one-man show. Toba's been leading the line. And in the 2v4 again, Nads, similar spot, hasn't moved off of C for the entire half. And really has been bombarded with utility. And this is where it really separates Toba, because Toba, we saw in the screen last time around, free abilities used for dodging and ducking and diving and finding the necessary fights. You can't have that same expectation from Nads and Hello there. And what Swizzy can do in this spot again, just play time, play lives. The positioning here is going to be a huge factor, and definitely showing some excitement. Hello there. Drawing it back to 1v1. Rolling Thunder utilized as well. MP4 is only going to counter this utility. But it's time on their side. Hello there, ducks and dives out the way. The Sheriff is pulled out, but MP4 clutches the round. And we are seeing Belfast still in control.
You can't see me right now, Connie. My hands are on my head. That was way too close. Trading Rolling Thunder for Rolling Thunder, and as much as Hello There didn't get caught by either of the Rolling Thunder nor the
Why not hit the reload?
It was just a timing at the end, which made it so much closer than what it should have been. It's a thrifty win for Belfast Met, and only none of the players from the side of Burnley keep their rifles. So as much as they are full buying back into this round, their economy is gonna be broken, and your mental is gonna be boomed, surely.
Oh, just a pixel peek too far. Toba has spotted that away, has to duck and dive, but we are seeing more reinforcement onto C site this time. Both teams now are respecting the set game plan, but Chris spent the showstopper and found no kill in return. And it's Chonk again, playing the same spot that we see so often. And really has, at this point, 2 important calls to make. Call for the audio cue, call for the pressure switch. But it's the first time really we're seeing an hour commitment towards B from Belfast.
Yeah, they pressured over toward A. They have hope for a lurk. There's the Nightfall, but Toba's here already with the Operator. Gets the first, does get caught out by the Prowler, and position is noted. So it's gonna be work out for them. Port gets thrown through. Trades coming back and forth. Hello, they're getting 2 through the smoke, funny. And now, just again, 1 versus 4, and Spike is down on site. So it's gonna be hard for MP4 to get anything done. In fact, nothing's going to happen as Kronos picks up the Operator, gets the final kill in the round. And what looked like was originally a really strong start from Belfast has been brought back by Burnley. And it's looking at most, Connie, to be a 7-5 half.
Yep, and Kronos as well. Throw it right back to Toba. It's good to know as well when it comes to the weapon selection for Burnley that, you know, you have two duelists there which are more than competent on the operator, which we do highlight as a major shift in strategy and definitely a risky buy depending on experience and utilization of the gun. Because we see two different style of operator players, the aggressive lane isolators and the rangy, long, awkward angle users of the operator. But Chonk, again, it's just playing careful on site. We do see the set break off from Burnley really sort of pay off and not pay off at the same time, as awkward as it is. Because when you tie it into a 44 like it has been there, it's just been a heavy site take. I mean, Belfast throw numbers through grass. But one condition in which Toba could utilize again is that showstopper you see in the bottom portion of your HUD. All it is a door break. All it is just that one factor, that one swing needed to get a collateral of kills. But really now, again, the shorty might just do a job instead. And again, it's just a wonderful adjustment. No need to spend it. But in the end of the half, was it really needed? Not really. That right there is positional play and the team shoving all the players into Toba.
Yeah, a little bit of a fault from the side of Belfast Met there. Unfortunately, not clearing that close quarter. It was added when Lotus had the rework done. And it's an honest mistake. We see some teams in tier 2, even in tier 1, making the same mistake, Connie. And so it's something that needed potentially to be thought of, but it wasn't. And I don't think I've ever seen a shorty get that many kills in one round, yet alone how much value it had. And so, again, 6-6 half, it's as if we're back to a neutral playing field. And it all will start with a pistol once again, Connie. We saw how strong Belfast were. They won the first 3 rounds. And so it's going to come down to how much Bees want to invest and where they invest with their players, with their util, and where the spike is going. As it is looking as if it's going over toward the A site with just a little bit of a presence in towards C.
And again, it's just a change in pacing and more confidence with the utility. Chris and before they're lining up a necessary 2 kills to tie us into a 5v3. But still the same set play we see so often from Burnley. They commit early towards A, but the adjustment in which Belfast made this time was waiting for the frags to come to them, rather than forcing the fights early here, Dan.
Yeah, Manic Kronos now in the 1 versus 4 has 150 HP after getting that overheal from the kill. But the spike's down in the open, and I love what Belfast are doing here. They're playing as a collective because they know, okay, we don't know exactly where the Reina is until the spike gets tapped or gets planted. They hear the Q, throw all of their util in. Kronos is now stunned, manages to get the kill though. Cosmetic piece of util, and will be found out by the Prowler, so now even harder for them.
Yeah, again, has to peek away from utility, swings into 2 crosshairs. Pretty much a pistol round that Belfast met, one from the get-go in my opinion, and it all was down to, again, Chris changing the pacing, and now we are seeing a difference here. Back-to-back pistol rounds now won by Belfast Met.
Yeah, it was exactly what happened on the first map. As much as the half isn't nearly as dominant as what it was, the team that won the first pistol also won the second. And so Belfast, they're buying in, going through the normal paces. And I think if you're the side of Burnley here, if I'm Toba, I'm hoping I'm giving my team confident calls. I'm boosting their morale even, because they need to get back into the game. It can't just be, okay, it's Toba and friends and that's all that Burnley is, because that's what it's looked like so far, Connie, in this first half of the game. And there's only so much one player can do in a team.
Interesting spend. Look exactly where the Killjoy utility is placed as well, and see it's just in the far corner. They expect an aggressive push from Burnley B, so they really are anticipating the similar patterns to creep out the woodwork that costed Burnley in that first half and gave Belfast just a comfortable lead. Again, the main difference in this half switch is the new adjustments, of which we are seeing the deeper agent pools selectively towards Chris make it an effect. But Swizzy's been arguably the most important in finding the kills. The second entry. Saw in the last half there, 2-3 kills at a time to make the man advantage even more of a deficit. But this round has started off significantly slower than the rest, and this is going to be a highlight because now we're watching territory in 35 seconds. No real commitment towards the site just yet. and no major audio cues given. Just a little door here and there just to fake B.
30 seconds left.
But now the equipment needs to come in, particularly as we do see Burnley play it heavy. And in a counter smoke again, a spray through for Swizzy makes it more punishing. And a paranoia as well. This is where Ben can play the time perfectly. Gets one, gets a second, gets a third, and that is body shot Ben. Appropriately named. Killing with all body shots. Making it more of a task for Toba. But in 4 seconds left, this round is all Belfast. And this is going to be a new look. A redefining moment. Particularly that Toba can only save a Spectre for this round. But I find it interesting in the end there that Belfast just completely missed the ships in the night moment there and completely mistimed Toba being the last one live.
Yeah, they didn't want to give Toba another Ultor because they've seen how much he can get done with that showstopper and just any piece of Ultor or even util in general. And so, yes, one player fell from the side of Belfast that right at the end of that round, but it's not necessarily the biggest issue because you still have a load of economy as a team. You're going for an aggressive mound push or a rubble push, even a 1-for-1 trade, and Connie, it's util central.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, interesting. MP4 gets a double with the aftershock, and mathematically speaking, look what we're tied back into. A 3v1. Belfast Matt have got 80 seconds just to walk through the map here, and what makes this, you know, just a cut paste from round half one is, again, all 3 crucial rounds at the start were on Belfast, but the way Burnley scaled back into it later on, just to foreshadow what could happen in the second half, was Toba finding comfort, and even Kronos just getting a piece of the pie as well. These frags are going to really be a difference point. And Chonk at this section, and this time in the map again, needs to commit to objective, has to reposition for 3 players. But again, as Omen in the clutch situation, again, you can only really count in the smoke. Has a paranoia spare as well, just to make the collection of frags a little bit more easy, but being bombarded with prowlers this early on, Belfast aren't taking any prisoners. A wonderfully placed paranoia though to counter it. And the positioning again is going to be interesting. Look at the full health stack we have from Belfast here. And Chonk has to line up so many players. But the first one is found there. A tap on the spike. A collection of kills. One found there. Has the confidence to get the last one. And we'll get it, Chonk! That's what you need! 7-8.
Like I mentioned, you need to be able to have the confidence as a team to be able to win clutch situations like that. It was a really close situation until Belfast, their game plan, it fell to pieces because what they've been doing, Connie, when they have the numbers advantage and the spike hasn't been planted, they find out where players are and then they regroup or they just flee entirely because they don't want to take the fight. They don't have to take the fight until the spike goes down. But then they split up. They unfortunately gave 3 1v1s and that meant Chonk could come in. But in terms of ults, you don't necessarily mind giving it to an attack side Omen because the From the Shadows isn't necessarily the greatest piece of ult util that Burnley have to offer.
Belfast flooded out from C straight away to Sand, so that play call means one thing. Again, hunting for the first blood, but it's a gamble stack which pays off for Burnley. B is completely open. Now it's down to bunkering up on site, putting the smokes where necessary, and finding the kills from the opposing players.
Spike planted.
Seeing which players make a mistake already. Belfast are down 1. In a 5v4 post-plant, numbers, of course, do favour Burnley. And look at their stack of players. Sending 2 out as well to commit the lurk on A. Really makes it a punishing setup, but Swizzy found his way on through to site. Has got the positioning and the pacing to find necessary kills. A flash onto Spike. And now Toba's getting necessary. That's 4 on for the ace in the 1v1. Just hold down Spike. Great placement of the nade. But so low on HP. MP4 just about finds it. We'll get the defuse through, and Toba couldn't have done much more there. But again, it's about the confidence of taking that fight. Down low HP, has to hit the first shot on the Phantom. That's the risk he took, and it didn't pay off.
Again, Connie, it's back to the conversation of how much can Toba do? Because we've seen him get aces, and we've seen him consistently get 4Ks, but when it's coming down to Toba in the 1 versus X and having to kill all 5 players, it's not looking good for the side of Burnley. They need to potentially change something up. They're doing great pieces of combinations with util. We saw toward that C-link of the fault line and the grenade that got the kill onto SCT, but again, it's not replicable because Toba can't just think, okay guys, it's fine, I'll win us the round. I'll get the ace. We go next. Don't stress. And with the fast push in, we're down toward A. The reposition has come in over towards C. But this is where the other two players are, and all of the Killjoy util.
And confidence is a major factor right now for Burnley Bees, especially given how good Toba is having a game in itself. Same as last map, really. If you combine, looking at 60 plus kills across 2 maps, which is an astounding figure. And then a 5v5 retake again. Burnley go aggressive onto C. But SCT finds that first blood. A peek through the door is just enough, but really now hello there as well. This far from a showstopper. Doesn't commit spike initially, but respectfully, again, look at the positioning in which Burnley are taking. They're not going to aggress up the lanes. They can't afford to lose any more players, so it will be a passive hold from Sands. One player as well to watch the pinch, but instead, Belfast populate the north side of the map, aggressing fast. Body shot Ben will get stunned early, but that showstopper from Chris is well placed onto hello there. But look as well at the remaining ultimates as well from Bees. It's only going to be a simple trade either way, but the way MP4 has it again is only through the smoke, and the showstopper has to be used not on the spike diffuser but on a player aggressing out. So again, it's a payoff which doesn't warrant the necessary investment. And we are starting to see now Belfast slowly escape away from this series.
Yeah, Belfast, though, doing exactly what they need to be doing on this map. They know that, okay, it's fine, because we have... we just need to hold for a retake and play our retakes. We saw how good they were on the defense of Breeze, Connie, with their retakes. And so Bees, they I think in particular that when it comes to these post plants, they planted in a spot that you couldn't play from main. But in terms of their posts, they need to be going for more reactive and proactive post plants, because otherwise they're just going to fall and lose to the retakes that is Belfast, of which Belfast have a lockdown available for that retake. So it's going to be a difficult position if it happens and comes to it.
5v5, but we don't really see the same kills being found as early on from Belfast. There's a stark difference and contrast in play.
Spike planted.
Really, it's about these isolated duels 1v1 outside of that committed objective, and the lockdown is going to be invested. This is the real creme de la creme for Belfast to escalate it to a 7-11. They've also not just found the necessary kills outside, they're playing again around this Killjoy. And Nads is really having a wonderful impression. Rolling Thunder as well utilized just to isolate the remaining Belfast players. But really, you have to inspect Element here. You have to assess what Burnley are doing to really claw these rounds back. And it's just perfect isolation of these kills on the outside of the objective. Despite that going towards B, we're not seeing again the pacing of which Belfast commit early on to take these sites.
Yeah, signs of life from the side of Burnley. They traded ults 1-for-1, and they pick up the round, which means, again, Connie, we're talking about economy, they have it in their back pocket. They have, again, a Killjoy lockdown available if they want to use it to take the site, or to stall in a post plant, because, again, it's been those situations where if they haven't had a piece of ultimate available, then they haven't been able to convert nearly as frequently those post plants. So it's going to be when are you going to use it? Of which they're pushing in to 2 players from the side of Belfast map, that being the Raze and the Fade. Nightfall getting thrown for information, but unfortunately getting caught out by Toba. But Chris trades it back a 1-for-1.
And Chris as well can just hold the angle, only if hello there doesn't peek it first. Now in a 4v3, the main thing you've got to glue your eyes to in Belfast side is that Rolling Thunder. And look at the positioning of which Breach has taken on A. It's perfectly aligned to recapture B at any point. And the way in which Belfast has spread this, it's covering 3 different lanes of control. And Burnley have to aggress, try and isolate at least another kill to make the numbers just swing their way. But Body Shot Ben trades it out. And in the 3v2, now we see the commitment towards C. And look at positioning alone. Toba is left on this lurk. And just enough shifting here to make it more of an isolated trade. But doesn't win the crucial 1-for-1 against MP4. A 2v2. Look at your ultimates. A lockdown or a Rolling Thunder. It will be spent, because look at the scoreboard, it's 8-10. We're nearing the latter portion. You got to be brave enough to save these ultimates where you can. But now when you spend it, just in the time they have, it gives full control of the site now over to Belfast. This is where you need to make sure your Killjoy's alive. This is where players have to peak in time. And now Nads has found it. A flash as well to counter it out, but MP4 will spot one. Has an after available as well. And Nads peeks it, but only MP4 can find the necessary kill and gets it just in time. Now we're going to go to 11-8, and now we're starting to really see these isolated 2v2s, 3v3s, clutch situations, which Belfast are getting over the line with.
It's, again, just trading ults one for one. But Connie, look at the scoreboard. Look at who's at the top of the scoreboard. We are 19 rounds in.
That's a kill
Toba
record.
is 13
That's a kill
and 13.
record in British
30
esports.
and 13. The man is doing so much for his team, and his team is trying their best to support him, but it's not working out nearly as much. Belfast are playing a more coherent, more cohesive gameplay and game plan as a team, and that's what's winning them. They've now got Connie. They're in their strat book. They changed it up once again. They're 4-man pushing in towards C, marking 3 or getting the first showstopper pop. Unfortunately, won't find anything, and it's a 2-for-2 trade. And Connie,
There.
the spike is still in hand, so the side of Belfast, they're backing off, they're leaving all the way out in toward the C site, but Toba's here as the spearhead to push in toward with them, and it's going to be a 3 versus 2 on toward the C site, which is going to be extremely difficult for the side of Belfast to win, assuming they don't play with their game plan. Although they're opening the door, they're trying their best to just sell fake presence and draw a rotate, but all 3 players have stayed in toward now.
Again, side control is the big factor here in this portion of Lotus, and Belfast pretty much have control 99% of the time. The only slip throughs again is keeping 2 players alive, Toba and Hello There. Now on scoreboard reflection, Hello There's got 11 assists. 11 assists. Definitely supporting the front line, and Toba's adjustments are just too good. The wide swing was clean, clinical, well placed. Now it's all about, again, playing around the smoke, finding the kills where they can be found, throwing a nade to close off the lane. And this post plant is totally Burnley Bees.
The man's 1 HP and he was still pushing. It shows how much confidence he has. It doesn't matter about his health total because, hey, everyone's 1 bullet to a Vandal headshot, right? So it doesn't really matter. And there's another one. It doesn't matter for Toba. He's so strong on any agent that he plays. His aim is immaculate. And he's winning them rounds. And again, Connie, no ults online. Toba, though, 1 away from the showstopper once again. We're nowhere near ults for the side of Belfast. Yes, you have that from the shadows, but on a defense, what it's good for is getting information or potentially fast rotating if you've decided to play on the wrong side. And Burnley, they've changed their strat book up again. They're going for a similar play that they had a few rounds ago, where they're 2-man pushing in over toward A to get information to potentially draw rotates, and then they're hoping to late hit C, which is such a great read because it's solo Killjoy there with only 1 molly.
Now, if you want to scope into this particular round, the difference is that commitment towards A and the isolated kills in which Burnley Bees won. It seems to me, again, that the more these rounds scale in for Belfast, the more time they have to adjust to Toba. And again, Toba is a star player. We don't say it enough, arguably. A player that has slipped through the woodwork and has completely shined through for Burnley Bees in one of the most important matches of the year, the qualifier for LAN. And it's only 2 rounds to separate these 2 teams, and although Belfast are firmly in control, the defensive portion, they only have 1 ultimate to spend, and it is a situational ult as well. And with that plant, Toba now is a showstopper available too.
Yeah, and they've adapted their plan. They've now planted for Mound so they can play safe. But Toba's not wanting to do that. Like you said, he has the showstopper available. He's hoping his best to be able to utilize it and potentially get 1, maybe even 2. Kratos getting the first onto Chris, and then just sending it in towards CT, not finding anything. But time is ticking down. Kills are coming through for the side of Burnley. It's as if they've finally awoken up as a team, Connie, and they're playing absolutely well. Yes, it was against an eco, so there was only sheriffs in the hand. This is the round that's truly going to test them. RB is going to give Belfast a match point, and or is it going to be once again another close round and take it to an 11-11? 1 ult available from the side of Bees being that Empress. They're 3 away from the Rolling Thunder, 3 away from the lockdown, and they have the ultimate advantage and ultimate economy. It's just, it's not quite available for this round. It's going to be there for potentially the match point.
And Burnley are very trigger happy to spend their ultimates now just to scale back into the game, whereas Belfast look to save at least 4 or 5 and close it out later on, which logistically speaking and strategy-wise, it is the better option if you want to maintain control of the series. But really what makes it interesting is how Chonk has found these necessary kills. Again, we saw a few rounds ago, the 1v3 to make it 7-8. And now again, getting 2 entries to make it even more of a tough task to scale in if you're Belfast. But Swizzy again finds a kill, tips away. And a great peek. SCT gets rid of Spike Carrier. But the pressure read is only really applied through the door. And retains life as well to make it a 3v3. But now it's interesting enough. Both situational ults are scaled in. Hello there finds another kill to make it a 3v2. And now we start to see a slow adjustment. A slow positional play for Belfast just to find the right lanes and right time to scale the site. SCT lurks so well. And what makes it interesting as well is that turret walking away position. But pressure has not been identified just yet. It's a risky peek which Kronos has to make in order to read it. And hello there as well, saved utility for this. Throws concussion as well out. Will it tag players? Will it spot the necessary kills? Has 2 flashes as well. And hello there has got the play to make here. Needs to flash out, needs to find the kills where they can be found, but it has to be spent wisely. Molotovs are going to be utilized, they are going to be stretched thin, but that's a nice kill which Nance has found, and a nice high line to flash, and we are at 11-11, Daniel.
Yeah, these teams have been so back and forth, Connie, in this map. It's an entirely different to what we saw in map 1 on the first half, but it's as if they've just continued on from that overtime back and forth that we saw in map 1. They're being so concise as 10 players, and again, Connie, Belfast have been forced onto an eco. We've seen them win Thrifties before, but this time if they need to win it to be able to put their pressure on their opponent, and the Burnley Bees know what's available. They are relatively close to the 2 of them, so that it might just be a play to grab orbs to try get kills. And Connie, it's going to just be a whole bunch of pressure in over toward this A site. Rotates have already started to come through. They love to pressure back into B.
First one's drawn from Toba. Carnos with a second. We are starting to see now Burnley Bees really scale into this final closing stage of the map. All 3 important kills to claim site have been found. Isolated the last 2. And only really is Swizzy through the door. At this point, if you're Burnley Bees, this is where you have to exhaust your options. Because now we are going into that penultimate 23rd, 24th round. And I'm gluing my eyes, not just to Swizzy, but that lockdown which Belfast have saved.
It's going to be the piece of utility that is going to have impact into this next round, as unfortunately Swizzy couldn't quite get the same repeat that he had. There was 1 extra player, but it's fine because you weren't necessarily expected to win that round. You only killed 1, not the best outcome for you. But like you mentioned, the lockdown is going to be the pivotal piece of util in this round. If you're body shot Ben, your game plan as a team as Belfast is to stay alive until the post plan. Hope that by the time that you've gotten into it, Burnley have expended a load of their pieces of util that can break it, and then place it in a position that forces either a push or an immediate fallback. But again, Connie, Burnley, they're replicating what has been working for them. They're starting over toward this C site. They're hoping to plant for mound, and then if they do, who cares about a lockdown because we can play from main?
There's 2 players positioned on the door, though. That's where Belfast found success in finding necessary kills. It was SCT on 2 separate occasions, finding the correct kills to make it a 5v3 because of Burnley's tendency to overcommit. It was sort of started around for Chris, flirting with the operator, but then pulled back onto a rifle, showing Burnley's commitments to really making these gunfights in their strength, those close quarter engagements, where only situational plays and just natural raw mechanical skill from Toba and Hello there have really spoiled the party. But now, hey, there's the call, and it's a fast rotation as well, so spam shots through the door. Body shot Ben is primed with that lockdown. And what makes this even more of an interesting take is that this is an unkillable lockdown. It stalls the push now for Burnley Bees.
There.
And with util being used from the side of Burnley Bees, Belfast are aware that the hit's still coming through. There's their lockdown of their own, so it's gonna hopefully facilitate a safe plan.
30 seconds
And
left.
just spamming through the smoke, trying to get kills. Nothing will be found. Planted now, and I love this plant position, Connie, because you can play it from main again. You can go in out through tree and just spam open the door, and because of how much slower it now opens, you can play it really safe. Toba's going for an aggressive push, manages to get one push down to 32 HP, and immediately falls back. That's numbers now in favor of Burnley Bees.
And look at the swing as well. Chris is right here on Spike, but that's a necessary kill to find. And a 4v1. What? Burnley Bees! What is happening? They're going through to land. I don't believe it. Oh, what a beautiful play. And that was a wonderful execute. But really, to put a bow tie, a ribbon on North, that right there is your conclusion, Daniel. That right there is our debut. It's Burnley Bees FC going through now. And they're going to face Colonel Cyphers on land.
They're showing why Lotus is their map pick, Connie, because as much as they lost their last series, who cares about their last series? This is not their last series. They won their last series, right? They won it 13-11. It was really close. Belfast put up such a good fight on both maps, and it was just unfortunate that the coin today didn't land in their favor.
Oh, it was a Toba tea party from the get-go, though. I mean, I actually did the maths internally as well. I think 30 kills and 64 kills over 2 maps is something that you rarely see often. And if I'm correct as well, I didn't want to pinpoint Toba to being another Toba in the UK scene, but this could be the same Toba that's actually playing in Eclipse as well in May, you know. That same Toba that we saw. So I think this really has become one of those players which we've mentioned throughout the day, a player that comes through the woodwork. Of course, they come in bunches or they rarely come. It's a drought. We see these sort of talents come through British esports, but Toba could be a player now, recognizable to some, but from this point on, now everyone knows who Toba is.
Yeah, and of course, we're going to wrap up today, Connie, by thanking, obviously, Belfast, because they've managed to get this deep into the competition. They've played to their best ability, and unfortunately, they just fell short at the final hurdle because they couldn't put Toba down. Toba was a dominant force. He was so strong. But like you mentioned, Burnley Bees, they won today. They're going to LAN, and they're going to be facing Colonel Cyphers. Now, if you're the side of Cyphers, you're thrilled that you played first, because if you're doing your research, you would have watched the series today. You would be able to potentially think, okay, it's fine. We anti-strat this. This is what they play here. That's what they do there. And then from that going forward into Wardland, you're going to have the confidence. You're going to have the upper hand, because it's going to be a great match for us to see in a few months.
The interesting as well, the scope for this is we're not really going to have, you know, that candlelit dinner final, you know, that Belfast Colonel Cyphers rematch we're hoping for from winter. And even, you know, it's going to be a new look for Colonel Cyphers, really, because, yeah, they sort of stormed through south in fashion. North is easily the more competitive region in terms of skill gap. But
yeah, there's more teams, isn't there?
Oh, what? Sorry, Dan?
There's more teams in North, so based on where the divide is drawn, it has a load more depth, and so we saw how dominant these two teams have. Who can only imagine what the previous two opponents were for these teams in their series in the semis, and so it's really going to pose the question of when we do go to LAN, Connie, of okay, Cyphers, we know they're a good team. We know that Burnley Bees are now a great team based on purely Toba, but it's going to come down to, okay, which one of these two is going to be able to pull their team across the line, and how is that going to happen? Because Dan, we saw how strong he was in the South final, and so it's going to be, in my mind at least already, a clash of Dan versus Toba.
There you go. You set the scene now for July. Set the scene now for finals, and you set the scene for Burnley FCBs versus Colonel Cyphers. Well, we're going to be revisiting that again on stage, in person. We're going to be meeting all these guys in person and really having one of arguably the most entertaining British esports finals of all time. But without further ado, let's wrap it up there. First off, let's thank everyone from production to admins to us to you guys at home watching. It's been a wonderful season to cast Valorant, and really lots of depth to explore, some great players that have been identified, and even some stars that have broken out so far in British esports. But until next time, we'll see you at LAN finals. We'll see you for the conclusion, the crowning moment for either Burnley Bees or for Colonel Cyphers. Let's end it there. We'll see you all soon for what is going to be one of the most special finals in recent history for British esports.